Imagine waking up one morning to find out that your social security number, your birth date, your home address, and maybe even your driver's license number have been stolen. Not from your phone, not from your bank, but from one of the largest credit reporting companies in America. In 2017, that's exactly what happened when hackers broke into Equifax and stole sensitive information from 147 million Americans. This is the story of how it happened, who was behind it, and why it changed cybersecurity forever. Before we get into the hack, we need to understand the target. Equifax is one of the three major credit bureaus in the United States, alongside Experian and TransUnion. These companies collect and store financial data on nearly every adult in the country. They track credit cards, loans, payment history, social security numbers, addresses, and employment information. Banks rely on this data to decide whether you qualify for a mortgage, a car loan, or even a credit card. So when Equifax was hacked, it wasn't just another data breach. It was a breach of America's financial backbone. The story begins in March 2017. A serious flaw was discovered in a popular web application software called Apache Struts. This vulnerability allowed attackers to run malicious commands on vulnerable servers. The flaw was so dangerous that the US government's top cybersecurity agency, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, issued an urgent warning to patch it immediately. Equifax was notified internally. They were told to update their systems. But somewhere along the way, that patch wasn't applied. One unpatched server, one known vulnerability. That's all it took. In mid-May 2017, hackers began scanning the internet for servers that hadn't been updated. They found Equifax. Using the Apache Struts vulnerability, the attackers gained access to a web application portal. From there, they moved deeper into the company's network. And here's where things get worse. Equifax had an internal tool designed to monitor encrypted traffic for suspicious activity. But the security certificate for that tool had expired for 19 months. That meant the system wasn't inspecting encrypted traffic properly, and no one had noticed. The hackers quietly explored the network for 76 days. They accessed databases. They located sensitive records. And they began extracting massive amounts of personal data, all without triggering any alarms. When Equifax finally discovered the breach in July 2017, the damage was already done. The attackers had stolen names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, driver's license numbers, credit card information, dispute documents with even more personal details. This wasn't just email addresses and passwords. This was the kind of information criminals use for identity theft, opening credit lines, filing fraudulent tax returns, or committing long-term financial fraud. For millions of Americans, this wasn't something you could just reset like a password. Your social security number doesn't change. For years, the identity of the attackers remained unclear. Then in 2020, the US Department of Justice indicted 4 members of China's military, specifically officers linked to the People's Liberation Army. According to the indictment, they used sophisticated techniques to disguise their activity and route traffic through multiple countries to hide their tracks. The US government described it as a state-sponsored espionage operation. The motive? Likely intelligence gathering. Building massive databases of personal information for strategic use later on. China denied any involvement. But the charges marked one of the most high-profile cybercrime accusations between global superpowers. The public reaction was immediate and intense. Equifax waited over a month after discovering the breach before publicly announcing it in September 2017. Consumers were furious. Lawmakers were furious. Investigations began. Eventually, Equifax agreed to a settlement of up to $700 million with the Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and multiple states. Executives resigned, the CEO stepped down, and the company's stock plummeted. But for millions of Americans, the consequences were more personal. Credit monitoring alerts, fear of identity theft, years of uncertainty. Some people are still dealing with fraud attempts tied to stolen Equifax data today. So what went wrong? The breach wasn't caused by some unknown zero-day superweapon. It was a known vulnerability with a patch already available. The real failures were poor patch management, a lack of asset visibility, expired security certificates, weak internal monitoring, and a delayed public disclosure. This breach became a textbook example in cybersecurity classes. It proved that even billion-dollar corporations can fall to basic security oversights. And it reinforced a hard truth. Cybersecurity isn't just about advanced tools. It's about discipline, processes, and accountability. The Equifax breach changed how governments regulate data protection. It reshaped conversations about identity theft and corporate responsibility. But most importantly, it showed us that in today's digital world, your data doesn't just belong to you. It lives in databases, on servers, behind systems you'll never see. And sometimes, those systems fail. If you want more real cybersecurity stories explained in simple terms, subscribe to ThreatFiles, because the next breach is already happening somewhere.